Hey guys, I am on Jinmen Island, which is a very small island about 3 kilometers off the coast of Fujian province in China, but it is administered by Taiwan. As you can see, I'm on the beach here. You can see all these spikes here, which are basically defense against a potential amphibious assault. And in the background, right just behind me, all around, you can see Xiamen City. It literally feels like I can reach out and touch it. Anyway, I am filming a video for my second channel, Monkey Exits Cave, which is focused more on travel, culture, society, things like that, you know, here in Asia. It's kind of my platform to explore sort of everything non-martial arts. So that's the main reason I'm here. I'm making a video for that. But I thought it'd be kind of interesting for you guys to do my Q&A here. So let's get to the questions. Okay, first question from Clive Elvis Robson. In your opinion, where did this idea that Mantis has monkey legs or footwork come from? So this is something that's mentioned in quite a lot of old Mantis manuscripts. Off the top of my head, I think the first mention that I can think of would be from Liang Xuexiang, who is the kind of main progenitor of plum blossom mantis, Meihua mantis, which is where a lot of various other offshoots such as Taiji mantis, Taiji Meihua mantis, 8-step mantis, blah blah blah, like a lot of them all come from him. And in one of his trempu, in his manuscript, he describes the requirements for the main body method of mantis, and he says it should have Taiji hands, or the hands should be like Taiji, the footwork should be like a winter chicken, the posture should be like a monkey, and the body should be like a plum blossom. So it's Taiji shou, Hanji bu, Hou shi Meihua ti. So that, I believe, is, as far as I'm aware, the first mention of it. Also, if you go sort of way back to the list of 18 ancestors that's often written in various different old manuscripts and things, among that list of 18 ancestral styles of mantis, it does also mention monkey boxing as one of them in there. So yeah, there is a very clear connection. I would say it probably goes back as far as Mantis goes back, honestly speaking. Okay, next question. I got quite a few Mantis related questions here, which is great. The next one is from Ryan Ramos. The differences between Luo Gongyu and Lin Jingshan lineages of 7-star mantis from what I saw on my recent trip. That's a very interesting one. So I'm kind of generalizing here, but I would say the main differences, in my opinion, are that the Lin Jingshan lineage tends to be more focused on whole body movement. But there's quite a lot of differences between, for example, we saw Lin Dongzhu and we saw Zhong Lianbao. You know, both from that lineage, but very, very different. Zhong Lianbao, I would say his movements were quite linear, and there was a lot of focus on Qinna. That was really his big thing, and his style was quite soft, whereas Lin Dongzhu, you know, in many ways I felt like he moved a lot more like the Taiji mantis that I practice. You know, he's a lot of twisting and coiling and quite hard power, and he was very, very much focused on striking, you know, at least from the limited amount that I got to see from him. And then if you look at some of the other Lin Jingshan descendants, for example in Qingdao, Li Jianyuan lineage is quite strong there, and there's also the Yu Tianchun and Yu Tianlu brothers, their lineage. I would say yes, most of those have that quite sort of linear kind of long power. There is very much a focus on whole body power with them. Now, contrast that with a lot of Luo Gong Yu stuff, particularly what I've seen in Hong Kong and Malaysia. I think the stuff in Shanghai kind of felt a bit like an sort of intermediary between the Hong Kong and the Shandong kind of way of doing things. But I would say that a lot of the Luo Gong Yu lineage practitioners are a lot more focused on very fast hands, kind of fast, almost running like footwork. And I would say that overall, this is a generalization, I would say that perhaps a lot of mainland Mantis sacrifices speed for power, whereas Hong Kong and the Malaysian stuff sacrifices power for speed, if that makes sense. I've seen there tends to be, in my opinion, a lot more focusing on the striking, the trapping, a bit less focus on takedowns and sort of big, heavy whole body, barges and things like that. And I would speculate that perhaps is quite a southern Chinese influence, because a lot of the other styles that the Mantis practitioners would be perhaps familiar with before training Mantis, or would be encountering and having to deal with, would be a lot of southern styles which are a lot more focused on kind of very intricate and fast handwork, and less on a kind of more perhaps grappling way of fighting. Okay, Hugo Marino has asked, in your research journey about praying mantis in general, have you found any historical points when the system divides itself in styles? I know we know the names of the founders, but is there a common person between them way back? Is it missing? I suppose. And also, why would Liu He Tanglang be so different from the rest of the Tanglang styles? Yeah, it is all honestly quite murky. I mean, we have, Liang Xuexiang, as I mentioned in the last question, is the sort of main progenitor of Plum Blossom, Meihua Mantis. And I think a lot of Mantis comes from him, but Six Harmony or Liu He, which you also asked about, and Seven Star don't. So those would be kind of the different ones, the kind of standout ones, whereas pretty much all of the other styles are kind of offshoots of Liang Xuexiang's Mantis. Now, unfortunately, the early history of Seven Star is quite murky, so I think we can't really pin together where Seven Star and Plum Blossom linked. I do believe that they both come from the same root, and probably one or two generations before Liang Xuexiang and before the first Seven Star person, although he didn't call it Seven Star himself, was Li Sanjian, Li Zhijian. Unfortunately, we don't really know where he learnt his Mantis. I mean, as I said in the video, some people say Sheng Xiao Daoren, but Sheng Xiao Daoren is obviously a pen name for someone else, so we don't actually know who that was. Six Harmony is so different. I think the main reason is because it's it's the one that I've explored the least, but from my limited understanding, Six Harmony is because it's Mantis mixed with Six Harmony boxing or Liu He Quan. And so that's basically why it's so different, because it's a hybrid style. So the short answer to that is, unfortunately, we don't know. We don't know when they divided and how exactly they came to divide. But as I speculated in my last video in the series, I think that Mantis was a lot more widespread back in the day than perhaps we realise now. I will continue the rest of the questions from another location. Alright, so next question. Eric B has asked, could you kindly comment about the similarities of Mantis boxing and other northern styles, for example, Changquan, Bajiquan, Xingyiquan, etc.? This is a pretty big topic that I think really needs an entire video to do it justice. What I would say is that, kind of generally speaking, the overall commonalities of northern styles are this idea of using the footwork to drive to drive the body forward. So Southern styles tend to kind of root themselves first, plant their stance, and then use the limbs, use the arms to strike sort of independently of that. Whereas, still drawing power from the body, but they're doing it from a kind of planted root. Whereas Northern styles tend to move the feet with the hands and get more power from the inertia of the feet moving. So you're there's kind of much more of a focus on agile footwork and kind of moving while striking, or moving while throwing, or whatever. So that's I would say one of the big kind of main commonalities. I think the other one would be this focus on kind of having all four aspects of combat. So Ti Na Shuai Da, Ti Da Shuai Na. So I said it in the wrong order. Ti Da Shuai Na. So kicking, striking, throwing, and locking. And I think most Northern styles use a reasonably equal amount of all four of those. I think that's another commonality. And I'd say the other one probably would be like the fact that the forms in Northern styles, the forms tend to take quite a lot of space. You tend to cover quite a lot of ground when you're doing your forms. Southern styles tend to sort of stay a little bit more in one spot. Sorry, YouTube Studio doesn't actually display people's handles properly anymore, so I don't know who this is, but it says JKR1666 has asked, which styles have the strongest form of hand conditioning, and what was the single most painful strike you ever took? I don't believe that there's any style that specifically has stronger conditioning than others as a style, because all a style is a sort of collection of methods, techniques, and practices. And so I'd say it comes much more down to the individual than than specifically to a style. But what I will say is that as far as the single hardest strike I've ever encountered, there's been quite a few, but I think the first one that comes to mind would be Zhang Junhao, the 8-step Mantis master that I interviewed in Taiwan. When he dropped a shoulder strike right into my gut in the middle of talking without me really being prepared, that was most definitely one that I remember, because it knocked the wind straight out of me and I couldn't even talk for a couple of minutes after that. There's been a lot, but that's just the one that comes to mind first. Okay, so Tengu Martial Arts has asked, how has your personal training in Mantis changed over time, and what, if anything, caused those changes? Did your trip cue you on anything you might want to revisit or explore deeper? Yeah, that's a really, really good question. So when I first started, when I was living in Shandong, I very much, kept everything absolutely as my teacher said. I was very much like, this is our style, this is our lineage. And honestly speaking, I believed that our lineage of Taiji Mantis was the only way things should be done, the only sort of quote-unquote orthodox style of Mantis. I was quite close-minded, and I sort of drank the Kool-Aid if you go to Shandong, you'll see that's most teachers think like that, and most will tell you that their way of doing things is the only correct way. But as I started the channel and I started to go around and visit other masters, of Mantis, of other styles, I started to kind of realize, I started to become a lot more open-minded, and I started to look at other, good things that I've seen from other teachers, even from other styles, non-Mantis styles. I've taken some influence in my own practice from, other things that I've learned, Shaolin Quan, Xin Liu He Quan, Baji Quan. I've done, little bits and pieces of Tongbei and Bagua and things, and they've all, had some sort of influence into the way that I practice my Mantis, for sure. Now, does my Mantis now faithfully represent that of my teachers? I would say probably not anymore, no. But, I also believe that, you know, you have to evolve. The art has to evolve. Your understanding evolves. And, you know, in regards to the latest trip, I think, yeah, definitely, you know, Zhonglian Bao incredibly impressed me with his chin na, and I'm definitely going to try and focus, because that's been a weak point of mine, so I'm definitely going to focus more on that. Sorry, this camera's got a mind of its own. I'm definitely going to focus more on chin na in the future, to practice it more. And, you know, the way that he was so effortless in applying his chin na was something that definitely I want to try and take on board in my own practice. You know, I am already in the process of trying to be softer, something I took on board from the 8-step Mantis teacher in Taiwan, Zhang Junhao, because earlier this year I was doing some training with him while I was in Taiwan for work, and he's quite influenced me to kind of soften my Mantis up somewhat. So yeah, I hope I answered all of your questions, and stay tuned for my Jinmen video over on the second channel. It will be coming out sometime around the same time as this video. It just depends how fast I'm able to edit it. So yeah, as always, thanks for watching. Appreciate all of your support. You know, as I keep saying, everything I'm doing with the channel is only because of you guys constantly supporting, so thank you so much for that, and I'll see you in the next video.